Welcome to the Software Process and Measurement Cast number 644. I'm Tom Cagley, your host. Today, we talk teams. At the core of Agile is the belief that the team is the fundamental building block of work. Because they're so important, organizations put tons of effort into helping and guiding teams. The problem is not that teams aren't important or that we're not working hard to make them better, rather that regardless, teams are chronically messed up. We discuss a framework for guiding and support for teams. We also have a visit from Jeremy Berriault, brings his QA corner to the podcast. Jeremy and I discuss the differences between static and dynamic testing. Understanding what each is an important step in improving quality. The Software Process and Measurement Cast is the proud media sponsor of the Global Scrum Master Summit. The first Global Scrum Master Summit, it will be the week of May 17th. It's being organized by the Scrum Masters Toolbox and Vasco Duarte. Link in the show notes. Tell them we sent you. The Software Process and Measurement Cast is also the proud media sponsor of the DevOps Online Summit. DevOps professionals throughout the world come together and share their learnings at the DevOps Online Summit. It's coming April 26th through 30th. That's pretty darn soon. Grab a ticket, link in the show notes. Tell them we sent you. Teams, the Heart and Soul of Work by Thomas M. Cagley Jr., Megan E. Cagley. Teams are the most common grouping of people in Agile. I don't think I've been to a conference, in person or virtual, without being told how important teams are to the delivery of value. Because they're so important, organizations put tons of effort into helping and guiding teams. The problem is not that teams aren't important or that we're working hard to make them better, but rather that regardless, teams are chronically messed up. The MIT Human Resources blog points out that although many groups are called teams, not every work group is a team. Teams are cool, so every group is called a team. The performance of a team requires everyone to interact, to play a role together. Groups are collections of individuals whose performance is a reflection of their specific actions. Groups are often a reflection of gathering people with like skills together so they can be managed. I once led a testing team. Each person was a tester, but they covered different applications with different people. When we got together, it was to listen to organizational news and to drink assorted beverages. We were a group as opposed to a team. Although at the time the distinction was not clear to me, fast forward a few gray hairs later, recognizing a good team or a team that has most of the attributes is important to me as a coach. I really do wish I could go back and talk to my younger self on this topic. There are 3 categories of attributes of good teams. 1. Skills attributes. Skills are the ability or expertise needed to do a piece of work. Individuals own skills. They are part of the person's knowledge and experience. All good teams use skills that extend beyond the technical. For example, conflict resolution is a skill all good teams know or learn. 2. Behavioral attributes. These are how individuals and teams act as a whole. An example of behavior is fun. I'm immediately drawn to a team that can have a comfortable, light, intimate banter before diving into work. I listen to a team discussing someone's new baby in a playful manner before diving into discussing how to solve a problem ticket. A communication skill translated into non-technical behavior. 3. Organizational attributes. This is how the organization facilitates teams, ranging from insisting on clear goals, providing tools, and fostering team culture. An example. An organizational attribute could be as simple as providing workspace, video conferencing tools, or allowing teams to self-organize. Using each category to evaluate and coach a team requires understanding of the nuances that are observable when the categories are decomposed into attributes. We'll talk through that in future installments, but recognize that you have to peel back the layers of each category. Knowledge of attributes is useful when evaluating teams before, and that's the important part, providing guidance. Returning to the definition of a team, before investing time and effort into considering the attributes of a good team, make sure you're looking at a team and that a team is important to the value delivered in the context of the work. For example, a few years ago, as an internal coach, I was asked to transform a group by introducing Scrum. The group provides triage and first-tier support for problem tickets. Each person works their own queues of tickets. The organization was proud of the approach that if you touch a ticket, you own it until completion. There was and is very little interaction between team members. By definition of a team, we noted earlier, this is not a team. The performance of triaging and providing first-tier support is an individual role, not a team sport. Implementing team-based approaches doesn't make sense given the team's context. We ended up settling on implementing Kanban rather than Scrum. This drove the point home that not every group is a team, and not every function in the organization requires a team. That said, when a team is called for, we need to help them be the very best possible team. And to do that, we need to go deeper into the categories that we talked about above. We'll do that over the next few weeks. Thoughts, comments, all welcome. Please feel free to reach out to us at spamcastinfo@gmail.com. We look forward to the conversation. Jeremy Berriault, welcome to the Software Process and Measurement Cast. Jeremy, your QA corner. Always one of the top draws on the podcast. Jeremy, today, I don't know. The whole idea, I've had a lot of discussions with folks recently, and I get this blank look when when I try to say that there's a difference between dynamic testing and static testing. And I know they start rubbing their sweaters so that they can shock me and thinking that that's really what they're talking about. But obviously, I don't think anybody's that crazy. But let's talk about dynamic and static testing.
Yeah, so I get the same looks too when I talk about dynamic and static testing. I think there's a lot of misconceptions or just different viewpoints as to what it is. So when you look at QA, so quality assurance as a whole, the main definition is to try to avoid things before they happen in a layman's terms. And that's, if you look at it from a static testing perspective, that's where you're doing your reviews, your code reviews, document reviews. You're not actually physically. Yes, why not? You're confirming, you're validating what the document is of good quality, has enough information, is properly detailing what you're expecting to have happen. So it's just, you're not writing a physical test case for it. You could, I have seen it happen, you could write a test case for it, but you're really, the static testing, everyone does. And that's the thing that I think where people get confused, because when they hear testing, they automatically just throw it under the QA umbrella, QC umbrella, QE umbrella, whatever quality umbrella they want to call it under, but they'll throw it under that. But in all honesty, everyone's doing that static testing. Everyone's doing reviews, making sure that they have the information they want.
Everybody should be doing reviews, I think is really what you meant to say, because very frankly, I think we both know that despite the fact that things like reviews, whether it's, if you're doing paper and based documents, that's one kind of review, but that's been around since dirt was young, and people were supposed to be doing that. They don't. Code reviews I remember when I got introduced to code reviews, and I thought those were, they were the neatest thing since, dinosaur eggs kind of thing. But people don't necessarily do that. So is it the fact that people don't understand that that's testing, that that's defect removal, or is there something else going on there?
I think, not seeing it as testing and not as defect removal. I think that could be one part. Another part could be that they just have enough maybe trust in the individuals that are providing that information to them that it's just good quality. I remember in university, I had a friend who had such bad handwriting. He would just kind of scribble something on a bunch of pieces of paper and hand it in, and the professors would give him an A automatically because in previous years, he got A's. Now, he was a smart guy, and I'm sure his work was good. But if you look at his work and how he did it, they just trusted that he knew what he was talking about. So there could be that. And the worst case scenario is that they just don't care. They just take it and then kind of run with it, and they'll deal with it when things happen.
Well, I certainly hope he's not a brain surgeon.
No, he is a physicist. I forget what his major was.
Physics?
Physics. Well, I don't know what part in physics.
I understand. It's just having fun.
There's different reasons why people may not do it or they don't see it that way. And you're right, like everyone should be doing it. And you and I have been around technology, software development for a long time, that we've seen kind of both parts. And for me, my main focus is to anyone that I work with is that they have to understand why they want to do this. There's the old, everyone keeps bringing up you find defects sooner, it's going to be cheaper. I know we've had that conversation, and I'm sure we're probably going to have that conversation again. But it's not cheaper in the sense, but it is still better to find the issue sooner and instead of dealing with a headache later on down the road.
Well, and very frankly, if the earlier you can find it, the less chance you build on it. So I guess there's potential for rework. Arguably, there are a lot of truisms that we all believe in, right? So finding stuff early is better and more cost efficient. Interestingly enough, I don't know that I've actually found any physical studies that confirm that. But it makes logical sense, so I'll buy that. That we know more at the beginning of that at the end of a project than the beginning. I hope that's true, but I don't know that it really is, given the dynamics of the world. So I think it's important for any work to be tested all along the way. Otherwise, it's easy to, if nothing else, to wander off course, even if it's not quote unquote, defect prone.
I think there was this one white paper I read years ago. I wish I saved it. Actually, I probably did save it on one of my old hard drives that went kaput, but it hasn't followed me. But there was one line in that white paper that really stuck with me regarding quality assurance, and it does tie in with static testing, is that quality assurance is there to help others become better at what they do. So when you're doing these static testing, code reviews of documents, anything where you're kind of physically reading and observing and seeing, making sure there's quality within that work, is you're helping those individuals become better at what they do. So when you find those errors, when you find an issue, that hopefully that the issue will not come up again in the future in the next one. So the next release or the next whatever work that's being done and requires that type of document, it'll be a lot faster, a lot easier to consume, because hopefully those errors will be fixed, and you do the review and it's just going to be a quicker review because you're not going to see that error. You're going to see the quality in that work.
Hopefully you don't see that error. Yeah, you may well see another error. Jeremy, we'll come back to this perhaps at a different time, but at some point I want to I think part of the issue with the blindness toward static testing is that if we embrace the fact that testing exists all along the life cycle of a piece of work, then that turns everybody into a tester, doesn't it, at some point?
Everyone would play that role. They won't maybe not have the title, but in their role, in what they do, that is going to have a small component of what they get out, regardless whether it's software. Like, even look at marketing for commercials. Like, you're a tester when you're reviewing a one-page ad that's going into a magazine, or you're reviewing a ad that's going on Facebook or anything like that. So there's still that type of static testing going on. It's just a role. It's just something people have to do.
Jeremy, how would people continue the conversation?
They can contact me through my email, jberriault@berriaultassociates.com, or they can reach me through LinkedIn and just do a search for Jeremy Berriault, or you can do a search for berriaultassociates.com and you got Berriault Associates on LinkedIn, and you'll be able to reach me through there.
Super. And we will have that contact information in the show notes. Jeremy, thank you for bringing your QA Corner to the Software Process and Measurement Cast.
It is always a pleasure, Tom.
In Reread Saturday News, in SPaMCAST 642, Vasco Duarte made the startling statement that a Scrum Master will be your next CEO. Chapter 7 in Fixing Your Scrum, Practical Solutions to Common Scrum Problems by Ryan Ripley and Todd Miller echoes the power of that statement by emphasizing the definition of a Scrum Master. By the way, if you have not bought your copy of Fixing Your Scrum, Practical Solutions to Common Scrum Problems, use the link in the show notes, support the podcast, and obviously the authors, and read along. In the next SPaMCAST, data security. Need I say more? We live in frightening times in the cyber world. Paul Katzoff and I discuss why data security is more important than ever. We want to make the world a little less scary. Everyone in the value chain is responsible for data security. If process improvement is a never-ending journey, why do so many people ask, are we there yet?